Congressman, we appreciate you making some time today. President Trump is meeting with some holdouts from the House Freedom Caucus, we know, at the White House right now. Are there any changes on the table that they could agree to in this bill that would change your support for it?
Well, I think we're continuing to negotiate all of those things. But at the end of the day, we're going to get this bill passed because of the things that it does. These are the things that the American people want. In my state, Colorado, this is tax breaks for the bottom 84% of wage earners. This is extending the child tax credit to families with kids. This is making sure that taxes don't double on our small businesses and they can continue to compete with large corporations on an even footing. And so what this bill is doing is so incredibly important to Americans that I'm confident we're going to reach a point where we can get this thing passed. Anything that's worth doing is, of course, going to have some fine details of negotiation involved because we are the party of free thinkers. We want to get the policies right, but we're going to get this thing passed.
I do wonder if you've heard from your constituents in Colorado about this to any degree. Are they concerned? Did they come to you and said, you know, here are the pros and cons that we see?
Well, I know one thing that folks in Colorado are concerned about is the fact that in my state, you got 51 million taxpayer dollars going to illegal immigrants through programs like Medicaid and state health care programs, again, funded by taxpayers. And so at a time where we've got a lot of concern around access to health care, this bill, by cutting out the fraud, waste, and abuse in Medicaid, by strengthening the program and increasing spending, let me be absolutely clear. The Republican program increases Medicaid spending every single year. We're just going to be more efficient with it by cutting out that fraud, waste, and abuse, those 1.4 million illegal immigrants that the Congressional Budget Office says are currently receiving taxpayer benefits. That's going to make the program stronger and more efficient for the people that truly rely on it and truly need it.
Let me ask you this. As we talk about Medicaid, you referenced that. According to an NBC News analysis, about 20% of adults under 65 in your district have Medicaid or another means-tested form of coverage as their only health insurance. Are individuals that you represent going to lose any care at all because of this package, folks that you represent?
No, we're going after the fraud, waste, and abuse. If you are a lawful beneficiary of Medicaid, we are fighting to protect that. We're fighting to put Americans first in this program. Again, that's by cutting. These aren't my numbers. These are CBO's numbers. 1.4 million illegal immigrants are currently receiving this taxpayer-funded benefit. You got 1.2 million folks who are not eligible for Medicaid, but who are siphoning money away from actual lawful beneficiaries because Biden-era rules didn't allow states to actually go and scrub their Medicaid rolls more than once a year. And so through reforms like that and by asking able-bodied working-age adults with no kids to either work part-time, volunteer part-time, or go to school part-time, 20 hours a week, again, we can bring some good stewardship of taxpayer money to this program while protecting it for every single lawful beneficiary.
So you mentioned a couple of things there I want to ask you about. First, the CBO. I want to put up some numbers from the Congressional Budget Office. They say this bill would add roughly $3.8 trillion to the national debt over the next decade. They also say it would decrease the household resources of the lowest 10% of earners while growing them for the top 10% of earners. What do you make of that? Are you okay with that?
So that $3.8 trillion increase, unfortunately, that's money that's already been spent by the previous administration. That's just how the federal budget works. So if we don't increase the debt limit, then we're going to be defaulting on our debt. This is money, again, that's already gone out the door. I spent 12 years in the Army. I have no idea why the Army uses a Navy term, but we would say big ship, small rudder. It takes time to turn a big ship around. And so this debt ceiling increase, that gives us the time to turn the deficit spending in this country around without defaulting on our debts. And again, that's money that's already been spent and is out the door. In terms of who this bill benefits, again, we can go through the numbers. The bottom 84% of wage earners in Colorado are the ones who take the standard deduction. If you're a millionaire, you itemize. Bottom 84% takes the standard deduction. We are protecting the standard deduction at its current rate rather than allowing it to be cut in half. That benefits the bottom 84% of wage earners for your average family of four to the tune of over $2,000 in Colorado. By protecting that child tax credit, preventing that from being cut in half from $2,000 to $1,000, again, we're putting more money back into the pockets of everyday hardworking Americans.
Let me ask you this. I want to put up a line from your congressional webpage that says, our country is spending money we don't have, leading to inflation and the always growing national debt. Reducing and eventually eliminating the budget deficit is critical to long-term prosperity. So yes or no for you, does this bill reduce the federal budget deficit?
Yeah, look no further than the committee that I sit on, the Energy and Commerce Committee. Again, we were tasked with protecting Medicaid for lawful beneficiaries and also cutting out fraud, waste, and abuse. That fraud, waste, and abuse is deficit spending. Our instructions were $880 billion. There was actually so much fraud, waste, and abuse that we found in all of the different programs that fall under the jurisdiction of Energy and Commerce. Again, a committee with the broadest jurisdiction of any of the committees in Congress, that we actually found $100 billion more. We found over $980 billion in fraud, waste, and abuse. That's deficit spending that we can reduce while at the same time continuing to spend more money every year on Medicaid, just focusing it on the people who need it by cutting out taxpayer-funded giveaways to 1.4 million illegal immigrants, 1.2 million people who aren't even eligible for the program.
I do want to ask you about one other topic before I have to let you go here in just a second. The defense secretary, we learned today, has accepted this luxury jumbo jet from Qatar for President Trump's use today. Your Colorado Republican colleague, Jeff Hurd, said that he had some serious concerns over this whole deal. Do you share any of those concerns?
Well, I think you used the correct term there, and that's deal. We're in a time right now where trade deals and international relationships between the United States are being negotiated around the world to get us back to America First policies that make sure that the United States is not being taken advantage of in these foreign relationships and these foreign engagements. And so for things like the jet that you referenced, we've got an army of lawyers that are going to scrutinize every single component of that to make sure that it is done legally and lawfully. But I think that that's indicative of a broader phenomenon that's occurring, which is where the United States is once again respected in the international community. I spent 12 years in the Army. I deployed overseas. I know that the rest of the world respects strength. We are once again negotiating from a position of strength.
So it sounds like, as far as the Secretary of Defense is concerned, this is a done deal. You have no concerns.
Well, like I said, you're going to have an army of lawyers that look at this and examine this, and I think that as long as the lawyers sort this thing out and say that this is lawful, to me, this is indicative of the United States, again, being respected in the international community and the fact that we're, again, negotiating from a position of strength.
All right, Congressman Evans, we do appreciate you making some time for us today. Thank you so much.
Always good to be on with you.